That should do it good.
Unlistenable. That is not unlistenable.
It's the opposite of unlistenable. It's extremely listenable.
Are you going to allow me stuff that's actually that he's put his name to in a band, or his solo stuff, or are you going to be a demagogue and shut it down to only stuff he's played on other people's records?
I better just get my head the same size as yours. Otherwise, I might come over as big-headed.
We wouldn't want that. We absolutely wouldn't want that.
Well, I am going to start off with the Summer of '68 and Jackie Lomax.
Yeah, I've got it.
Sour Milk
Sea. Yeah.
Sour Milk Sea, simply because Sour Milk Sea is actually probably the greatest recording the Beatles ever made that no one's heard.
It's a fantastic song.
Now that
written by Harrison, was it?
George Harrison, yeah. And so they were recording the White Album at that time, and I say it's the best song the Beatles recorded because, of course, the Beatles did record it, because it is the Beatles who are on that recording with keyboardist Nicky Hopkins. All right, John Lennon's not there. But all the Beatles are there, apart from John Lennon, plus Nicky Hopkins.
So hang on a minute.
And Jackie Lomax.
Yeah.
But I'm not finished. You can find a very good, shall we call it a fan mix of that particular recording, where they put on George Harrison's vocal instead of Jackie Lomax.
Oh, Jackie Lomax must have been a tad peeved about that one, because that's his, that's his.
Interesting point. Is it a great Clapton session? Well, it is because it's a great session to begin with. It's a great song, but it's not one of those where Clapton does an all-star guitar solo as such.
No, but it's a rocker though. It's a proper rocker.
It is,
and that's I mean, this is where this kind of thing is I find it interesting, and our discussions in the pub I find interesting, because I come from more of a rock background. Yes. I'd say you have more of a kind of a orchestral pop jazz background. Would that be fair?
No, but I have an interest in those areas.
But I think our intersection, if we had a Venn diagram, our intersection is very rich.
Yes.
And that song would definitely fall in our Venn diagram there, our intersection. But the other stuff that we argue about, I think I almost enjoy that bit more. But
so actually,
I do like it when we occasionally agree.
Are we in agreement?
We are in agreement. That's a great song. Okay. Definitely.
Right. Your turn.
Well, I mean, for the solo stuff, if you're going to allow me, if you're going to allow me Blind Faith, then I've got to put in Blind Faith. Can't Find My Way Home, and I know it's one that everyone will know, and it's kind of an obvious choice, but I'm not going to be sort of arch and contrarian, not include the ones that are just fantastic. But people malign that album wrongly, in my opinion. It's a fantastic album. I think, and I'm not sure, they just see it as a kind of a supergroup album that failed, and it just didn't fail. I know it's not what Clapton wanted to do at that time. He wanted to go on more of a songwriting-y thing, or more of a Delaney and Bonnie type shtick. But all right, he was a bit peeved when Ginger Baker opened the door, and he had to sort of include him in the band. He sort of went, oh no, here we go again. But Baker makes it. Baker makes that album. He makes it so good.
This is part of the mythology of Eric Clapton, of course.
Yeah,
he is a sort of you know, mysterious and revered figure, and a lot of it was done even in his time. This building up of a legend, and I think this is part of it. That the blind faith thing was part of the legend. That you know, they wanted, and the press worked on it as well. They wanted to find something that he could do post Cream, and the fact that he rejected it, what he created, has just added to the mystique. And it's only now you can sit back and listen to it and think, wow, that's just a great piece of music.
It's a phenomenal album, and even I mean, do what you like. The drum solo on that. I mean, who's going to sit through a 15-minute drum solo? I will. It's great. It's great stuff.
Just for info, I'll edit this out, but I will flash up an image in the editing process.
Not of the cover.
Well, that's a good point. Not of the cover. Okay, back over to me.
Because it's all about you.
This may raise an eyebrow.
Oh.
But I think it is an absolutely astonishing track. On the 45, it's the B-side. On the 45 and the A-side, it had it written in black letters, "Play loud." It is the Plastic Ono Band. "Don't worry, Kyoko, Mummy's only looking for her hand in the snow."
Oh no! Hang on.
Hang on. Before you criticise it, you've got to let me pitch it. You've got to let me pitch it. Surely.
Go on then.
It is a hypnotic guitar duel between John Lennon and Eric Clapton that runs for, I don't know, it's only about 5 minutes or so, but it is Yoko is contributing in the background, of course, with a screechy,
wailing.
A wailing vocal, which is used like an instrument. It's used like I don't know. It's like it's like a saxophone. It's like Ornette Coleman or something, and his free jazz experiments.
And don't we all love listening to Ornette Coleman? Oh, Ornette Coleman is unlistenable.
And it's only 5 minutes, but they played it. They played it again in December 1969 at the Lyceum Theatre for a charity event, which involved, masses of stars were there. Keith Moon joined in late on, in it. And when I say late on, he joined in after about 25 minutes because they played for about half an hour. And apparently
the queues for the toilets must have been round the block.
There are accounts that people were walking out in droves.
I mean, that's like playing Stairway to Heaven at the end of a party. I'll get your coat. Come on. Well, jeepers.
But it is mesmerizing. I think it is a truly wonderful performance from the pair of them.
I can't detach Yoko Ono's wailing from that, and it may well be that the guitar work in it is superb, but that song itself is. Are you talking about the A side, the Kyoto thing? It's unlistenable. It's unlistenable. I don't know how you can include this.
Okay. As I say, it's the opposite of unlistenable. It's very listenable. Right, over to you.
So that's in now. That's in our joint top 10, is it?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's a hill you're prepared to die on, is it?
Absolutely.
Outrageous. Right. Okay. Well, I've got to I've got to bring it back. I've got to bring it back from the brink now. I'm going to go straight to 1970, early 1970. And I'm going to go for his work on Labiodental Fricative by the Shaunhead Show Band. Famously, well, it was Vivian Stanshall.
Disappointed that you say that you're moving into 1970 for that one, isn't it?
Well, it was released in February 1970, so okay, presumably it was recorded in late '69.
Correct.
Fair enough. Are we going purely by recording dates here?
Well, I do.
Fine. I mean, okay, released Friday the 13th, 1970, February 1970.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, I wrote a piece on your blog for this. Are you going to include links to the blog? I think you should. And there's lots of other excellent stuff there by us and some other stuff by other people. But yeah, that song for me, I love it. Not many people know about it.
Yeah,
it's a one that went completely under the radar. Evidently was released and sank like a stone. Didn't do anything at all in the charts. And it's one of these things where I talk about it in the blog that it straddles the 2 decades for me. Even though it's released in February 1970. I mean, the 70s died at Altamont. I mean, they died, literally at the end of the 60s. But so the 60s died at the end of the 60s, but the 70s, properly killed off the 60s, as in everything. The feeling of the 70s was like.
A little known fact.
Go on.
On the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band's first album, Gorilla.
Yes.
In the song, the intro and the outro. Where they list various mad people playing different instruments, like I think one of them is Adolf Hitler on vibes, for example, and Harold Wilson on something or other. Anyway, they name Eric Clapton on ukulele, and there's a little ukulele bit, and bizarrely, it is Eric Clapton apparently who plays that.
Nice, because I was wondering how the hell did those two get together? You would never ever put them together in a million years. Exactly. But it works. It really works for me, and it's a fantastic song. And it's one of those ones I've put it on at a party, and everyone's just gone, "What the hell is that?" And you just listen to it. It's good. It's 3 minutes of your time. Listen to it. It's fantastic.
Right. Okay.
Over to you.
I'm going to dive straight into another George Harrison related track, or rather Beatles related track, and I'm going to go straight for The Art of Dying from All Things Must Pass by George Harrison. A song that is bizarrely connected with Phil Collins, because Phil Collins claimed that he attended the sessions for that as a young drummer and played congas on it. And due to the recording process by Phil Spector, there were masses of people who recorded on All Things Must Pass. And some of it was edited out, and then, or more than likely, another musician came in and over recorded that, because it's just layer upon layer upon layer.
Yeah.
But the track itself is probably one of the most underrated of all the songs on that album. It starts with an explosive sort of fizzle of a guitar from Clapton. It's like a I don't know. It's like a snapping animal. It's a really sort of biting electric guitar. And
yeah,
I read only recently that somebody actually said if there'd been a James Bond film called The Art of Dying, it would have been the absolute perfect soundtrack to it. That would
have been a great title for a Bond film as well. That's
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's very Bond-like, and it flies by. Yes, The Art of Dying. There's been a lot of controversy about the album. as to who plays on what, but it's clearly Clapton.
So for that album, you're going to go for that and not Wah Wah.
Well, Wah Wah's such a shall we say, it's a real wall of sound.
It is. I mean, but that riff is fantastic. And it keeps going as well. You think, oh God, enough, and it goes again, and then it goes again.
It does, and there's a great live version. There's a great live version where they played it a year later at the concert for Bangladesh at Madison Square Garden, and they've got Ringo Starr drumming on it, and sitting next to him, Jim Keltner drumming to it, and the camera's from the side, so you can see the pair of them frantically drumming to this song.
Yeah.
No, that was a close one. Wah Wah, close.
I'm going to go now for the solo album, Eric Clapton, and I'm going to go. Most people, I think, would go for Let It Rain.
Well, that's me. That's me.
Oh, is that yours?
Yes.
Oh. Do you want to talk about that first, and then I'll go on my one after?
And you'll like gazump me. Yeah. All right. Okay. Let It Rain. Oh, wow.
It's a beautiful song. It is a beautiful song.
It might be the best song that Eric Clapton ever recorded under his own name, in my opinion.
It's actually, yes, that's entirely possible. It's up there. It's definitely, yeah.
It has, because melodically it has that bit more. It's got I suppose my problem with Clapton is he did move away from his shall we say the pop sensibilities that came out of Cream, and towards the blues, and jamming, etc. Musicianship, shall we say, away from pop, or away from what have you. And the thing about Let It Rain is it's got a fantastic middle eight in it that shifts the song, and then the song develops into this long coda where his guitar playing just freaks out, and I can't actually identify him, but Stephen Stills is on that one as well. Plus, of course, the whole Dirk and the Dominoes ensemble, the extended band there. But it's one I go to often.
It's a great song. It's a great song, and it was on that album. It was my toss up between that one and Blues Power. And for me, I'd go with Blues Power, just because it's got that immediate boom. It's got the initial kind of lovely little bluesy, the little piano intro, some really nice little delicate chords resolving, really lovely. And then it goes bang, bet you didn't, and it goes into like a real stomping blues rocker. And I mean, that's where I find Clapton was at his best, was when he was doing blues that was just not straight blues, just something a bit like in the Cream. He'd do it like a bit psych, or a little bit jazzed with Ginger Baker's influence, or he'll just really rock something up. I mean, like with Crossroads, let's say, or Born Under a Bad Sign, that's got that that little kind of askance beat. But with Blues Power, it's just a rocker. It's just a real rocker, and I love it. And it's kind of that kind of Freddie King thing. It's a bit like Going Down. It's got that kind of feel of that, that just keeps going. And it's only 2 or 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
But I love that song. I will go for that one more, possibly because of my kind of rock allegiances.
Yeah. Well,
but, I mean, I'm happy to have 2 off that album. And
hey, we can throw away the rule book. And we
rules.
We could have 2.
We make the rules, right?
We could have Cold Turkey, the A side of Don't Worry Kyoko. Anyway.
Oh no, I didn't like that. No, I didn't like it. Didn't like Cold Turkey. Anyway.
Well, just following on from what I've just said there about that song, Let It Rain. Let It Rain.
Yeah, yeah.
I do like the couple of tracks he did on Stephen Still's first album. Two albums rather, because it was the same session, but he split them. The first one, Go Back Home, Go Back Home.
Go Back Home, I think is some good guitar work on an average song, a really average song. It's just an average blues. I don't think it's anything special. I think Clapton's guitar work on it is good.
It's a Frankenstein's monster because allegedly Clapton was so far gone at that particular session that he couldn't do it. So Stills did his take of the song, and he dubbed on an earlier version in rehearsal. So that great guitar solo at the end was not connected to the performance. He dubbed it on afterwards.
And Clapton didn't even recognise his own guitar work. He said, "Man, you're cooking there," and still said, "That's you."
That's right.
Which is crazy. But but that's
here we are.
This is a problem I have with Clapton, is that when he was in Cream, fair enough. Some solos went on for days, and it was all a bit much. But that kind of free, just play off the top of your head, just play, and just keep going, and make mistakes and go off on tangents and what have you, and then come back and it's all good. There was an interview I heard. He said in I think it was the late 80s, where he said that he'd gone away from that playing now, and he wanted to compose a solo in his head before he played it. And you think, well, that must be why it's all so
calculated,
awfully dull.
There was a review of the Derek and the Dominoes album, I think, by which one was it? I think it was Robert Christgau, who was a noted one at the time. And he said that particular album is good. It's good, but it's very calculated. It's almost like everything's measured to a sort of formula and a sort of perfection. The solos, there's economy, and
Am I allowed to go for one off? I'm going to go for one off that album.
Of course.
I'm going to go for.
I agree with
it. I'm going to go for Bell Bottom Blues.
That's my favorite one. That's my favorite one.
Okay, excellent. Why do you like that song?
Well,
why would you choose that?
Because again, it's a very melodic song. It's my God, when I reach for that album, do I want to listen to Key to the Highway? Jesus, no.
I want
to hear something that's got a bit of something you can tap your feet to.
A tune you can whistle. Do you know what? I mean, one of the reasons I love that song so much is it's got the shifted drum beat. It's got the drum on the 1 and the 4.
Yeah.
So it's Bell and Blues. You make me cry. And it's like what is it? Banana the Cream. Oh bloody hell. Sunshine of Your Love. Banana, bam. Instead of on the banana, that's two of the songs I can think of that have the snare on the 1 and the 3 rather than the 2 and the 4, the backbeat. And it's just it kind of makes you listen to it. Go, hang on a minute, that's a bit odd. And then it goes back to the standard backbeat, and then it goes back to with the snare on the 1 and the 3. And I think that's lovely. I think it's just shifts it slightly, just jolts it slightly, and makes it interesting. I love that song.
Okay,
I think that's great.
Well, again,
where are we up to now? Was that 7? Are you keeping count?
No. That will all be done in the post-editing suite.
Nice.
So just to bring 1970 then to an end, Can I recommend, say, a little heard John Mayall album called Back to the Roots?
Yes.
I mean,
Interesting you should mention that.
I personally, you know, I shudder to contemplate listening to a John Mayall album because I don't rate his voice, I don't rate his material. But this 1971 album, I think, was put in 1970. Clapton's on a couple of tracks, and he is blisteringly good, particularly on one called "Prisons of the Road."
Are you sure that's, check your handwriting there? Is that definitely
It's
Prisons?
it would make more sense to be "Prisoners on the Road," but it's
It
actually called
would.
"Prisons on the Road." Prisons
Fair
on the Road.
enough.
You know, he does a really sparkling guitar solo on that.
Yeah. I'm sure I've got the album. I don't delve into the John Mayall stuff a lot because I find a little goes a long way. But I mean, it's when I do, I usually find a nugget, a gem, and then the rest of the album. You're right. His sing's awful. His sing's horrible.
It's a little
The
bit like
higher register stuff is just
he
warbling.
did a little bit like Alexis Corner.
I was about to say that a little bit. Although, yeah, Alexis Corner had the most charismatic voice, the most beautiful speaking voice, and I could listen to that forever.
He'd be very good at doing dirty phone calls.
Do you know what? I'd tune in for one of them.
I wouldn't turn it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then it all goes into a sort of like nothing happens with Clapton. He plays the Bangladesh concert, but he looks bad. He looks bad. I
Yeah.
haven't even seen the film of that, but he looks
What's
bad.
that? 72 is that? That's
71.
71 is it? Okay.
71. But then yeah, you get to 72. There's very little. 73.
Yeah.
There's just the Rainbow concert really, and then I don't know. I suppose that's the end of Clapton. There's nothing more to say, is there?
Well, there is. I mean, there's you. I would personally throw in something from 74 personally. Motherless Children is fantastic. Beautiful blues slide, which I never thought he played on, but it was him evidently. He played it, and great stuff. Really lovely. Again, he's doing that thing where he takes an old blues and makes it into something slightly different, and doesn't just do the faithful blues, 145 reproduction or whatever. He does. He just makes it slightly different, turns it into like a kind of a bit of a rocky, little bit country maybe. Yeah, I think that's a fantastic version, and I would absolutely put that in his best work. Absolutely, some of his best work. I love it. The rest of the album, I'm totally ambivalent about, but that song is a belter. I mean, I don't know. There's people will say there's an elephant in the room here. People will say you're a pair of idiots. You haven't included one of the finest rock songs ever to be recorded. And they're wrong. Basically, I mean, everyone will say Layla. You haven't included Layla, and neither of us had Layla on our top 10. I think it's one of those where, for me, if they kept it at 3.5 minutes, that was I remember growing up with a compilation album called Formula 13. It had the 3.5 minute version on that. Absolutely amazing, and it's a great riff. And at 3.5 minutes, it's a great song. But the extended version is mush.
Yes,
it's absolute mush.
It is.
And even when I'm listening to the short version, I'm thinking of the long version.
Well, Duane Allman is out of tune.
He's horribly out of tune on that. I think he's horribly out of tune. I think that the piano is just. I feel like I'm sitting in Cheers, having a beer with Norm. It's just I don't. So I mean, have we got a 10? We must have a 10 there. We must have 10.
That must be.
Is it 10? I mean, people disagree with that 10. People will be saying I Shot the Sheriff should be in there. People will be saying Layla should be in there. But if you can't argue about rock and roll, You know, what can you argue about?
I like that. We'll keep that in.